Jesus' public ministry really begins with John the Baptist, right? And John the Baptist is also a prophet in the wilderness. He's a strange, weird prophet out there sort of reenacting the new Exodus and doing this, I call it a protest ritual, right, of baptizing people, saying, things have to change, right? So if you kind of just de-religiousize the language, if that's a word, and ask why people are coming out to them, it's because they know there needs to be a change. John is forming himself this movement, but it's a movement focused on justice and judgment. And of course, in Judaism, those things go together. I know people tend to be uncomfortable with the language of judgment, but in a sense, you can't have justice unless you have some kind of accounting for that, right? This is sort of an apocalyptic message, which apocalyptic's always a resistance to political domination. If we're talking about the kingdom not as something that's magical, but something that does get enacted through God's power. It's something that really transforms not only individuals, but community, but it's a transformation that involves practice, that you actually have to act your way into this. I want to talk about how that works for you all.
It has to do with a lot of right thinking. Jesus, because of what we said earlier of him not just sort of being dropped down into the context instead of emerging from it,
right.
That it has to do with his own embodiment, and I think then it has to do with our embodiment, our full selves as well. I think that we shy away from that because that's actually really scary, because transformation is scary. That it means that you change in ways that aren't necessarily what you thought had to be changed.
For us, our context influences how we read the Jesus narrative, so it doesn't surprise me that in one of the most individualistic countries in the world that we read it through this individual one-to-one sense, and I think that is the beauty. That was my own transformation in a congregation, was I don't have to do this alone. This community can have a real impact on my daily life
because of God, and you are sort of working together in this transformation. Our God, who is whole, wants that for us as well, and so that may mean we have to move through some things that we really don't want to, and if it's done in community, that might mean that we're actually not the center of the universe. And I think for white people that's really, really hard, because we're taught that we're special and we get to set rules.
It'd be interesting to hear pastorally how you kind of do that, not just individually.
It's all messy.
With the community. It is messy.
And for me, that all starts with relationships. So how do you build unlikely relationships, to be totally honest? Because that is what invites the transformation. It's sort of that magic that happens when you sit down with someone who you think you have nothing in common with, and decide you're going to do life together anyway.